There is a lot of different kinds of money out there. Like when I was a kid, like there's like old money, new money, blood money, drug money. We didn't have any of that. What we had was good money, right? Good money. That's where your parents buy you something you don't like. They go, we paid good money for that. Good money buys the worst stuff, too. It's never anything good. Good money buys like airbrush t-shirts with your name on it from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Dollywood, you know what I mean.
Purple eyes in the canyon. That's where I long to be with my three.
That's what I always see musicians do. They'll play a song, and then once it's like that, you've established that you're a great musician, then they'll start doing jokes. I see this in Nashville a bunch. They won't do a routine, but they'll be like, they'll tell a joke or two because they can just
during their set.
Yeah, because they can just go back to playing guitar. If the joke bombs, they can go, oh, but I'm a great musician, But it
is like a legit, they're not a comedian. It's like a legit music show.
Yes.
Okay. Because like, I love stand-up. I love comedy.
Yeah.
But like, I try to incorporate stuff into my set. Not necessarily like full. Well, I will say they probably are a little bit of bits.
Yeah.
Because it's like a story.
Yeah.
And I want it to be a little bit entertaining. I love the old school songwriter thing, like the Guy Clark and Robert Earl Keen. And like, I don't know if you've heard some of those guys live, but
I've never heard them live, but
they tell such great stories.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so funny, and it just brings the whole show to life in a way that like I'd never really seen before. And it's kind of a little bit of a lost art, but I can see.
Yeah, I like that stuff. I mean, but I'm talking Nashville. It's, we're in a bar, and probably chances are you don't even know who the musician is.
Okay.
And they may have great stories, but I've seen them try to tell a joke where it'll be a joke and not a story.
And then does it bomb most of the time?
Yeah, sometimes. I hate it when it doesn't bomb, I'll be honest, because I'm like, if they're getting laughs, I'm like, well, you can't have all the talents.
But if you were to like just play the guitar and like sing me a song, I would be not nearly, you'd just be like, hey man, I'm like starting to just figure this out. And like, I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't have a problem if you were like terrible at it or something. Do you feel like that when you hear like somebody try to work that stuff into their music?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think if you're, playing guitar and like, it's all fascinating to me because I can't play guitar. I'm sure it's like one of those things where if I just practiced every day for a couple of hours, I would eventually be able to do something,
sure.
Right? But I don't. That's why comedy works for me because I didn't really have to. Like, I was good at it right away. Like, I got much better. I wasn't where I am now when I started, but I was, like, able to get laughs immediately. So you're able, like, it'd be like if you pick up the guitar and you were like, oh, I can play you can play, like, a simple song. You're like, oh, this is great. Now I'll just learn the hard ones.
Right.
That's kind of what I did. Like, I could play a simple song right away. So I had to learn the hard ones.
Like, you were naturally funny or...
Yeah, I mean, I always made people laugh, and I always had an ability to tell jokes. I mean, I grew up in Alabama, and it's like we used to just sit around and like tell street jokes all the time. You know what I mean? Like a joke like, a fat woman and a preacher went to the bar. You know, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So you learn delivery, by telling those jokes. Because you ever heard somebody tell a street joke, and they're like part way into it, and they go, oh, hold on. I meant to say this part. And then they'll go like blah blah blah, and it's like, well, if you got to blah 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 the joke, maybe we don't want to hear the whole thing.
Is it? Do you think it's naturally a feeling thing, just hanging out with people and being able to understand? I guess like the cadence of like when the cadence of like maybe the story or the joke, and then just having that sensation of when you're kind of losing them. There's obviously people that tell stories, and you're just like, gosh, like I know, come on.
Yeah, I think so. But I grew up around people telling stories all the time. Like my dad and his friends, they'd be telling stories. So it's like, you kind of like, so I don't know if it's natural if you just watch it so much that you learn how to do it.
Or like if you have enough people that kind of heckle you in just average life.
Right.
Or if you're around people that give you a hard time, that if you're
That's
telling
true.
a bad story, and then they just jump in and they steal it from you.
Yeah.
And they just ruin your punchline.
That's true.
But it naturally teaches you, like, you lost their attention. You need to
Yeah, if you're talking for a while and people stop, you got to learn to tighten it up. You know, because if you're at like a party and you tell a story and then it gets a laugh, like you could go to another group of people at that same party and tell that story again.
Yeah, you just
That's basically what stand-up comedy is.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people act like you need to be on and perform when you're not?
I think so. Sometimes people are like, I had a guy that I was working with one time before I was full-time comedy. He brought his son to work with us one day, and the guy, later he goes, his son was like, I thought he'd be funnier. I thought he'd be like joking all the time.
He said that to you, or
He said it to his dad.
And then his dad told you?
Yeah, and I wanted to be like, well, I hate this job.
And I hate your son.
Yeah, none of this is fun for me. I'm writing jokes about you when I leave here.
Absolutely.
But not at work.
So he just felt like he needed to be entertained.
I think so. I think people have this idea of a comedian in their head that's just like all the time like making jokes, but I hate that.
I've met some of them that aren't actually very funny, like naturally.
Yeah.
But they're I take that back. They're very funny and they're like really good writers, but in the context of just hanging out, they're either just kind of a bad hang or they're just not very funny.
Yeah, and I think you can just get exhausted from telling jokes.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you're just like you do show after show after show, and then you're like, it'd be like you showing up to a party and people being like, "Hey, play a song for us."
Totally.
And I bet they do.
Totally.
But, yeah.
Yeah,
And it almost in a way
flattering.
it feels different though, because especially if you're like a dude that plays guitar and you're single, I feel like every party you would want to be like, "Oh, I'll play a little something for you."
I just get so nervous.
Yeah.
And especially if it's not, I just so badly don't want to be that guy and just be a douche. And I truly enjoy it in the sense of, well, I didn't start playing guitar, start singing or writing songs to get chicks or anything like that. Like that's not why I did it. I did it because I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then just that, I don't know. And I'm at that age too that it was like the perfect time where in a lot of movies and stuff, you had the guy like at a party with a guitar.
Oh yeah.
What movie is it where he kicks that guitar in half?
There's I think Animal House. John Belushi takes the guitar from the guy and smashes it. Yeah, I don't know. There was one with like Dane Cook. I think he was in a movie where there was a guy that played
he's like
guitar.
playing it. And somebody walks up and just kicks the guitar in half while he's playing it. And I think I just have those visions of me being that. So I just like shy away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a guitar at my house for a while. I hate when people can, they just know like the first 2 seconds of every song. They'll be like, "Oh, I'll play Dark Side of the Moon for you," or whatever, and it's like ding 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 or whatever. And
well, but
and then they'll, what about Stairway to Heaven?
What about this one?
Yeah, and I just told my friend, he did that so many times. I go, when you leave today, take that guitar with you, because I never want you to play that at my house.
Don't
again.
ever do that to me again. Was it his idea to do it?
To play songs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they would just, you're just hanging out and they'll just pick it up and they'll start strumming away. And I'm like, well, you go ahead and take that because I don't want that over here.
It's like the slow grab for it.
Yeah.
Where you're sitting, you can tell that they're really wanting to do it. See, you don't have, with comedy, you don't have an object. I guess some of them don't. Some of them do.
Yeah, most of us don't.
Most of you don't.
There's some problems.
But you could see them kind of like reaching for it and just kind of start touching it. You're like, that dude wants to play that thing and try to impress us.
Yes,
so then there's a whole lead up to it, which causes anxiety for me. And then if they're terrible, sometimes though, if they're awesome, it could be really cool, but it's also why I hate karaoke. I'm petrified of doing karaoke.
Why are you afraid of it?
Because the whole point of karaoke is to be bad, sort of.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and I don't even want to say this to sound pretentious or anything, but like, I do this for a living. Like, obviously, like I'm good at it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
The idea of going to karaoke, though, is to be sort of a disaster. And you get up there and you're like slick or not even trying to be slick. You just do your thing, but you're good at it, right? You do it.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, oh, this douche.
I think there is a whole movement of karaoke people, though, that think they're about to get a record deal off karaoke.
Oh, you think? Oh.
I mean, in Charleston, I remember that. And I think it's, especially in Nashville, I think it happens a lot in Nashville. Where people are like, they're like, who knows who could be out here? So they're like really belting it out.
Oh, so you actually, and they might be pretty good, huh?
Yeah. I would think so. I would think Nashville would have the best karaoke in the country. I don't know.
Well, I would have to think so. I don't know if that would make me feel more comfortable because I'm pretty used to like, we have a little place called Frilly here in Decatur, Texas, a little place called Frilly's.
Okay.
A little seafood joint.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it is not great.
Okay. But the karaoke.
Oh boy, howdy.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But it's about being terrible.
Oh,
and just
yes.
drinking a lot.
Well, that's a problem for me. I feel like my karaoke was always so bad that it's not even fun for people. Like people are not like, they're just like, geez, what happened up there?
What's the go-to?
I don't know. I used to like this song, this Bob Dylan song. I think it's Rainy Day Women, and then it's a couple of numbers where he's like, everybody must get stoned. I love doing that song.
Well, that's probably, nobody's going to know that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I always pick the wrong songs.
Like, come on, dude. Go for like the deep cut Dylan track.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be like sacrilege, but there's a good chance you sing it better than him.
Yeah, well, that could be true too.
You know, if they would just go listen to the original,
that's true. They're like,
might be like, this cat's crushing it.
They're like, geez, this was terrible, and then they go listen to that one. And they're like, honestly, he's not that bad.
It's a pretty killer cover. You seem pretty hip on the music thing. Like,
I mean, I'm all about it. I love music. I mean, I know everybody loves music. People always say that. You know, everybody. I think my wife hates music. I said that to her the other day, and she was pretty offended by it. But
why do you think she hates music?
I don't know. She just seems to like, you know, she likes a lot of pop. You know.
You're like putting pop outside of music.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like there's some that's good.
What does pop mean to you?
I don't know. I just got to hear it when I'm listening to it. I go, oh yeah, this is not it.
So it's not necessarily just because it's popular.
Yeah, I mean. There's some good pop. I mean, obviously, and there's a lot of country I like that people would consider pop.
Sure,
you know.
Sure,
but I don't know. Sometimes I'll just like we shared a Spotify for a while, and then I would, click back into it after she had been on it, and I'm like, what's she been listening to?
That's kind of cool. You guys share a playlist?
We did for a while. We finally got a separate one because it would be like
it was just too much.
We shared one, right? So we shared one account. So I'd be listening to it somewhere, and then all of a sudden it would disappear.
Dude, that's kind of a cool...
because she would start listening to it.
But you only did it because you were just sharing a Spotify.
Yes.
It wasn't...
But we got a couple playlists we'll add songs to here and there.
Is it like a bonding thing, sort of?
Well, I like to think I'm trying to show her some music that she maybe has never heard of before. She grew up in Canada.
What part?
She grew up in a town called Peterborough, Ontario.
Dude, I was born in Peterborough.
Were you born in Peterborough?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I was trying to connect, but then
right.
I panicked.
Okay.
Where's Peterborough?
It's about 2 hours north of Toronto.
That's on the east side.
Yeah, like above, New York State.
It's above New York State. I thought it was
New York,
west.
Michigan.
Yeah, Toronto's not west of there. I don't really know much about Canada.
Yeah, it's like you can go in through Buffalo, New York, through Niagara Falls, and then right up into Toronto, or you can go, through Detroit.
How would you get there through Detroit?
Well, you just kind of, I don't know. I'd have to draw it on a map for you, but you just go through and then you just keep following that road.
Does anybody have paper? I kind of want to watch you draw it.
Yeah. There's a Sarnia I've been through a few, but then like above Montana, that's
Alberta,
yeah.
That's the only one that I really know. I'm going to spend a month in Calgary.
Okay.
In August.
I did comedy in Edmonton, Alberta.
Yeah.
And
I bet they were cool.
I had some beef brisket there. Really, some of the best beef brisket I've ever had. It's so good.
I know a lot of people just through like the rodeo world. I know a lot of people from Alberta, and they are honestly, in some ways, they're more like almost American than even a lot of Americans that I know.
Yeah, I mean, I was really shocked. I mean, I grew up in Alabama, so growing up, I just felt like everything above like the Mason-Dixon line was like all cities, and like I thought that the South was the only place that was country, and everything else was like just everybody was rich, and they were, so as I traveled the country, I realized there's a lot more redneck throughout our country than I thought.
Totally.
In all the best ways. I don't mean that in a negative way. It was like amazing to me. Like driving through Michigan, I'm like, oh, this is practically Alabama.
No, totally.
And then when I got up into Canada, it's the same thing. Like Toronto is huge, but once you get out of Toronto, it's like, oh, we're just out in the country here.
I think it's like that pretty much across the world for the most
I think
part.
so too.
You just get out of like because we're like in Dallas right now. I mean, you talk to most people here, and they act just about the same as anybody from any major metroplex.
Yeah.
But you go out of here 20 minutes, and it's like they would be pretty much the exact same as the guy from Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we always say about Nashville. We say, because we went driving around looking for land. We bought some land outside of Nashville, and we would say, you know, the great thing about Nashville is Nashville's a big city. It's happening, but 15 minutes, you're back in Tennessee.
Totally.
I mean, and it's great.
It is different, though. Like once you get further out west, the idea of the redneck country sort of thing changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to more like the deep south or some other parts of the country.
Well, I don't know where Colorado falls, but when I drove once from Nashville to Colorado, and I drove through Kansas, and the moment I got into Colorado, it was like little kind of dirt mountains with trailers everywhere. And I was like, all right, this is what I'm talking about. This is my kind of place out here. Just like not a trailer park, but just, you know.
A little more spacious.
Yeah.
Not a park, but trailers.
Trailers, yeah.
Parked.
They were parked. They probably had a real address, though. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like a county road address.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that would be. What kind of trailers were they?
Just like mobile homes.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah, I don't like. You get way more of a cowboy culture out here, which is different than I guess your stereotypical Southern country.
Yeah, for
thing.
sure. I mean, you're out on the land, you're doing stuff. I mean, like a redneck, like, you know, you're sitting around in the house. You go to work and you get off, and you may have a little yard you're messing around in, but you're drinking. You know what I mean? You're just, just kicking it.
I lived in Florida for a little bit, in South Florida, and
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to a country bar, and I guess I figured they were playing country music or whatever, but I go in there and I had, like out here we would starch our jeans, and like you go out to a restaurant or something, it's like cowboy hat, sport coat, starch jeans, like nice boots.
Yeah.
And like I go to this little country bar in there, and they're all in, like jorts, like what were they? Jenkas?
Oh, Jinkos with the real baggy jeans? I had a couple of Jinkos.
Did you? You were a Jinko boy.
Well, they were expensive, so I had one pair of Jinkos and an off-brand kind, but I had some baggy.
Was that your vibe?
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm trying to find my place in the world, so I'm like, yeah, Jinko. It's like, to be cool, it was like either you wore like Tommy Hilfiger, polo, or you're like a Jinko guy. And Jinko felt like the way to go. It felt like
did you take it all the way to like skate shoes?
Yeah, I had some Airwalks and some Airwalks was really the skate shoes I had.
Airwalks. What about Etnies? You remember Etnies?
I don't remember Etnies. I had some Saucony's. I had lime green Saucony's.
I don't even know what a Saucony is. Did you skateboard?
No.
Oh.
No, but I was. I looked like I did.
I looked like I did. You had a lot of room in those pants.
Yeah, I mean, I could do stuff.
Sure,
but I don't like stuff moving under my feet like that. I'm not good. I got on a skateboard.
Life is well. Okay, keep going.
Well, I got on a skateboard and I was like just messing around, and I slipped and fell right on my shoulder, and I was like, all right, I'm about done with that. You know what I mean?
Were you into sports and stuff, or?
I played all the sports to some degree. I played football in middle school, not very good. I just didn't like it. I liked backyard football, but then when I was on a team, I loved it for a little while, and then we had to do these hitting drills, and it's like where you line up about 10 yards from each other, and you just run straight at each other and hit each other.
Did you start on your back?
No, we didn't have to do that. We just were, and I was like, "Jeez, I don't want to do that anymore." I mean,
it's a big part of football.
Yeah,
just running at somebody.
Yeah, and my school was good. We've been. I don't know if we've ever won state, but we've been to the state championship before.
Yeah.
So it's like we're good. So it's like you're playing against really good players, and I was like, I don't like this, and I was gonna quit. I had all my stuff one day, and my mom picked me up, and she goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm quitting." And she goes, "All right, go tell your coach." So I went and put all my stuff back in the locker, and I played the rest of the year. I was like, I'm not going to tell my coach I'm quitting. I was just going to walk off.
Oh, so because she forced you to really confront it, you just weren't.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm not doing that. So I'd rather just play. I'd rather play than tell my coach I'm quitting.
Do you feel like you're kind of still like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm not a quitter.
Well, not even as much that, but there would have been a little bit of confrontation with quitting, right?
Yeah, I think it would be more of my coach would just been like, why?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Legitimate question.
And my excuse would have to be I'm lazy or I'm weak. And I didn't want to say any of those things.
Okay.
So I'm like, no, I'll just keep playing. I can handle it. I just don't want to.
Huh. I feel like that was a pretty good teaching moment.
I think so. And, you know, I played soccer a little bit. I played basketball a little bit, all rec league stuff. Played baseball, rec league. Not great at any of them, but also not terrible.
Sure.
I'm definitely not great at basketball.
You're not?
I don't even want people to see me play basketball.
Well, I didn't even know that would be, I guess the other ones, did a lot of people watch you play them?
Yeah, I mean, nobody watched me play basketball. I played rec league. I kind of signed up on my own. I was a little older.
But the other rec league ones, y'all had big crowds.
Fairly good size, yeah. So people, you know, I felt good about my soccer. My dad never liked soccer. My dad is against it.
Well, you're from Alabama.
Yeah, and he did not support it and did not want me to play.
We all did it. Actually, I didn't do it, but all my buddies did it. Like our senior year of high school, they all played soccer. But it was like the weirdest. That was just not a normal thing for any of us to do, to play soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Did it when we were little kids.
Right. I mean, that's mainly when I was doing it.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid.
Oh, so you were out on all sports by...
Yeah, by the time I got to high school, I was pretty much done.
Well, so what'd you do? Like, what were you into? Because did you get into the comedy thing later?
You know, I did comedy for the first time when I was 21.
Okay.
But I'm not like the kind of guy that like does stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like to do things. People are always inviting me to do things, and I don't like to do stuff. I'm kind of like, I like comedy, and then I like to be at home.
Okay.
You know, like when I'm at home, I got like a little garden I'm trying to grow. I like to build things. I like to cut the grass. I got some land. I got a cabin that I had built. The Amish built me a cabin. And I like to get out there, and, you know, I planted some fruit trees. And all that stuff is really fun to me. But like just these activities that people are into, like golf. Everyone I know is into golf now. And I can't think of a worse way to spend my time. Now, I know it seems like everybody is into it now. Every comic I know plays golf.
I know. I love it, but I
know everybody seems to love it now. My dad used to say, that golf is the best way to ruin a good cow pasture. And, and I don't know. I actually got offered to play with Larry the Cable Guy. And I'm like, I just said to him, I said, I don't know who I am to be turning down an invitation from Larry the Cable Guy, but I've never played golf, and I would just embarrass you and everyone else.
Well, the learning process, I guess, is what, but you're saying you just don't. You're just kind of a homebody. You just don't really like to do it a lot.
You know, I'm gone so much. I'm on the road so much. But I even have friends that, like, one of my buddies, he likes to go hiking when he's on the road. And I'm like, I just feel like so much of my energy goes into doing comedy. So I go, I do an hour of comedy, then I do a meet and greet, and then I sit down in the green room for about 30 minutes and then do another hour of comedy and another meet and greet. So it's just like, I just conserve my energy all day. That's what I tell myself. But it really is like, if I leave my hotel and go do something, the whole time I'm thinking, I got to get back to that hotel and do nothing.
I'm like the day of a show, I'm a solid, don't want to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's like, you know, it's like even working at night. Like I just used to have this job where I would work like noon to 9 o'clock. And I'm like, well, the morning, even if I get up at 8, I'm not doing anything because I got to go to work. And that's how I feel now.
So is your wife pretty active?
Well, my wife, we have a small baby. We have a baby that's almost 2, and then she's pregnant. We're going to have another baby in June.
Oh, congrats.
So she is pretty active, though. She always played sports. She played a lot of soccer in high school, and she loves to run and work out and stuff like that. But, you know, she's pregnant right now, so it's really perfect for me. We both get to sit around, and I love that.
No kidding, man. Yeah. Did y'all how old is the smallest baby?
Almost 2.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, 2 in May.
Was it like, is that stuff, it's so tough with traveling so much and being gone all the time. But then also everybody tells me that there's never really the right time to have a kid. Did y'all plan it out to a certain degree, or?
Well, we didn't really plan to have kids. We actually, when we got together, we said we would never have kids. And then, I don't know, I don't know what it is. Like, I always didn't want to have kids because I felt like the world was like in a real bad place.
Okay.
And then I'm like, all right, pandemic's here. Let's have a kid, you know?
Then you learned about grounding.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to ground this baby.
Yes. Well, you know what, though? I had a baby, and I thought you gotta have kids. It is like the way to level up as a human being. You're in this place, and then you have a kid, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a whole new mental space that I've not been in before, where I'm like, oh, now I have this responsibility. Now this kid is like looking to me to teach it things, to raise it, to feed it. And I'm like, now I have to like, you know.
It's accountability.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So it like really put me in a new spot, and I'm like, wow, now I can't imagine not having a kid.
Probably need a little context for the grounding comment, because I think we were talking about that before we started rolling.
Yeah.
About grounding your baby.
Well, grounding, I mean, there's a documentary called Earthing, and that's another term for grounding. And I was just at home one day. I love to watch YouTube. I got on all these YouTube rabbit holes, and I found this Earthing documentary, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to watch it. I watched about 10 minutes of it. And then I went and got a lawn chair, and I took my laptop to the yard, and I took my shoes off and put them in the grass and watched the rest of the documentary. And I've been sold on it since then.
Why?
Well, even if like they say there's a lot of science behind it, like removing inflammation and things, but I'm not reading that. I don't know that the science is there. But I believe the idea that probably there was a time when everybody wasn't wearing shoes. Even my dad talks about having one pair of shoes, and it was too small for him, but he had to wear it because that's all he had, right? So there's got to be a time when people didn't have shoes all the time, and then, you know, I don't know. If you believe the Bible, right, we talk about being created from the earth, right? So we got to be connected to the earth. All the animals walk right on the earth on their bare feet. We're the only species that puts rubber soles, and then rubber soles is what conducts electricity. I don't know if conduct's the right word, but keeps the energy flow from happening.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
So we're like wearing these rubber soles, so we're never connected to the earth. So I just feel like there's some connection there.
Yeah, you're like the third person that's told me about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Have you heard about the sunning your butthole thing?
I have heard about that. That's tough to do. I don't live in that kind of neighborhood. You know, I do believe in getting sun though, being out in the sun.
Just not that specific.
Right. I'll keep my pants on, and I've burned myself in a tanning bed here and there, and I love a tanning bed. I feel like tanning bed's like the most redneck thing that people don't really associate with redneck, but I love it.
You do think it's redneck?
I do, yeah.
In some ways, I could. I guess I could see how it would be a little bit. It seems like the person that like invented it would have been a redneck.
Oh yeah, when I was like 18 or 19, I liked to get high and go to the tanning bed, and it was the best.
What was the sensation?
You're just warm in there. Yeah. So you're just like, you got a little music going. You're warm, and then that was back in the day when tanning beds would run for 20 minutes. Yeah. So you're in there for 5. Beginning to freak out, like, how long have I been in here?
Dude, they do freak me out.
Yeah.
It's just getting locked in one I think that was like a Final Destination thing.
Maybe so.
Getting locked in a tanning bed.
But they had a different like tomb, like a casket like tanning bed, right?
They all have a bit of that.
Well, the tanning beds I'm getting
some of them you stand, right?
Yeah. I don't like the standing. That's not as relaxing.
I can't imagine it would be.
Yeah. I like to lay down in there.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it
grosses me out, and yeah, and it just freaks me out.
Yeah. I feel like I could get out of that one pretty easy. The ones that I go to, I could get out of it.
Well, some of them have the holes on either end,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I could squirm out of there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think, when I get into an elevator, I always think, if I got locked in here, how could I get out of here? And there's some like real old elevators where you're like, you couldn't. You'd be trapped.
Well, at the top, no.
I've been in some where it's like you look at the top and it's like solid and you're like, oh, this is terrifying. I took one at like an old, like kind of like Mason's Lodge in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was like and it was just like a metal box.
Were you playing there?
Yeah.
At a Freemasons lodge?
I think it was an old one, no longer a lodge.
Oh, so there was just a bar?
Well, it was like, I don't know, it's like a temple of some sort. It used to be.
That sounds worse.
And it's like we got into this elevator, it's real small, real metal, and it went real slow. I mean, I took the stairs down. I was like, I'm not getting back in that thing.
A Freemasons temple?
I don't know. I could be wrong but it was some lodge of sorts where it was like, feels like stuff's going on in here.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Are you a Freemason?
No.
Oh, your manager said you were.
Did they?
I don't know.
No. No, I mean, I got, I'm not in any kind of clubs.
Yeah, I'm sure you've gone down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've gone down them all, but no, I'm not in any clubs.
Are you a sucker for, not a sucker, but are you pretty aware of most conspiracy theories?
I think I'm aware of probably everyone. Once in a while, someone will hit me with something. I'll go, well, I've not heard of that. I'll get into that.
What was the most recent one?
I don't know. Somebody did tell me something the other day. I forget. I mean, there's been so many, but I don't know. I mean, I like them, but sometimes you get into it and people freak out and they're like, "Oh, you're such an idiot," and I'm like, "I'm just talking to you.
I'm just asking some questions.
Yeah,
I'm just hanging out."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be some that are true, some that are false. I'm kind of open to most of it.
Yeah.
Here's one that always
my favorite ones I wouldn't want to talk about on a podcast.
Interesting. Your favorite ones. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild stuff.
Yeah, you keep it to yourself a
I
little
mean,
bit.
I got into the whole idea of that dinosaurs aren't real.
Okay.
And I think I'm at that place. Where
That sounds like a fun one. I guess I haven't technically.
Well, it's like all these museums, they all have, it's like they'll go, we found this bone and we can tell this bone is from a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So then they create the rest of the bones and put it on display.
I just haven't done that much research on like how they figure out like what a dinosaur looked like. I guess I always just assumed that they already had all the bones.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the natural assumption. That we go, oh, you found a lot of these, and that's why you've come to this conclusion.
But they sort of just extrapolated out of it. Like,
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some people will debate it and say, no, we found complete, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
And there's reptiles on Earth right now that as long as they live, they never stop growing. So, imagine one. I saw an alligator on a golf course on a video. I wasn't there. On a golf course in Florida. And it was huge. Like if, give that thing another 100 years.
I guess I never knew that. All reptiles are like that?
I don't think all, but I think there are some, yeah.
But gators are like that?
I think so.
I never knew that.
They never stop growing.
So they just have to be killed?
I guess so. Or, they might die on their own, but.
But don't they live for hundreds of years or something?
Yeah, it's like, they got these giant turtles.
Yeah.
There's a lizard that looks like a little tiny triceratops. It has the little kind of horns. There's a insect that can cause an electric spark.
Is that not just like a
not like a firefly. Right. No. It's like I forget what it's called.
I guess that would be the definition of it. But.
Some kind of beetle. It's I forget what the beetle's called, but it can cause like a little, like it squirts out a little poison, but it's almost like a little bit of a flame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm really immature.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
it gets,
The word made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it squirts out.
Yeah, so you can say it again. Say it again. And I laughed again.
Yeah.
There's I did some sailing years ago, and we went from St. Thomas in the Bahamas. I'll get there. They were like, where did that come from? And we went from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and we're going up to the Bahamas. But like off the coast of Cuba, they have that bioluminescent plankton, I think is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So like off the back of that boat, the wakes would light up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, the oceans are wild. See, that's another thing, right? They're always telling us that they're off on Mars and they have a rover on Mars, but even our own oceans, they've barely explored.
And there's some absurd amount that we don't even.
Yeah, it's like, so I'm like, let's stop worrying about space.
No kidding.
And let's focus on the oceans. Let's find out what's going on.
Yeah, wouldn't you Wouldn't it be more logical to live underwater before we like live on Mars?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what's happening down there. Everyone, it's like there's always like some new animal popping up from the ocean.
It's creepy. It creeps me out.
Yeah, I mean that's what I want to get into. What's going on in the oceans?
Are you like an ocean guy? Like, do you enjoy the water?
I like the ocean. Yeah.
Have you ever been scuba diving?
I've been snorkeling, never
Okay.
scuba diving.
Okay.
I actually went snorkeling very hungover in Key West one time. And it was our last day in Key West, and they were like, the water's so rough, we're willing to, let you all come back tomorrow when it's better. They weren't willing to refund, but they would let us come the next day.
Right.
And we were like, well, this is our last day. So we went out, we're snorkeling. We feel like we're about to drown out there. My buddy's throwing up in the water.
Ugh.
He's so hungover.
Just chumming the water for
Yeah,
you?
the idea was that you get this long boat ride out and you snorkel, and then on the way back you get free beer the whole way back. And we were like, yes. But we were so sick.
Yeah, totally.
We couldn't even drink on the way back. It was a
Absolutely.
nightmare.
I get super seasick.
Yeah.
I get it bad, just hanging over the
And
side of
the
the
water
boat.
was so rough.
Yeah.
And then we're out there and we're snorkeling. I'm like seeing like barracudas and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm
Okay with
supposed to
this.
be swimming with barracudas.
Did they hang out underneath the boat?
I don't know. I was not that close to the boat. They kind of told us to go on out a little bit.
Did you see one attack another fish?
I didn't see that. It was hard to see anything. I mean, the water was so rough, it was hard to swim.
So it wasn't a lot of fun.
It wasn't, no. And I'm a good swimmer, but I don't usually swim with flippers on.
Sure.
So I don't know how to.
No. In my mind, every time you
Yeah.
swim, you have flippers on.
I don't know how to get it going. I got a little nice little, when you're in the water and you're just kind of like kicking your feet. I'm very good at that, but that's tough with flippers.
It is tough.
I mean,
But it's just a longer
yeah.
deal. You got to have a little bit more quad.
Yeah,
power.
I'm a great swimmer. That's probably the sport I'm best at. And my dad would not let me join the swim team.
Okay, so he was like classic Southern,
Yeah.
like no swimming,
Well,
no
he had
soccer.
He had a pool, and he was like, "You got a pool right out there. There's no reason."
But just, by God, don't race your friends in it.
Yeah, and then years later, like my dad, he wouldn't let me join the swim team because he said he would have to. He lived about 30 minutes away from my hometown, so my parents are divorced. So he was like, I'd spend every other week with him in the summer, and he's like, "I'm not driving you every day to swim practice. You got a pool right out there." Like years later, I was probably 26 or something. I'm swimming at his house. He goes, "You should have joined the swim team." I was like,
Oh,
"You have
did he
no
really?
idea what you."
Yeah, how much you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, because at that time I was probably I might not even been that old, maybe 24. I was not into comedy. I didn't go to college. I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Sure.
And I had other friends that got like college scholarships for swimming, and I was just like, man,
This would work.
that could have been me.
I can't do the Speedo thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I never.
Oh, so you're undecided. Like you might have loved it.
Yeah,
Just
I'm saying at that time, at 24, when my dad's like, "You should have joined the swim team," I'm at a place in my life where I'm like, yeah, I wanted to.
right.
And you didn't let me. And now I'm at this weird place in my life where I don't know what I'm going to be doing.
What were you doing?
Well, I waited tables for a while. I sold pesticides for about 8 years. I was a pesticide salesman. I was a sales rep. I sold to Lowe's and Home Depot.
Oh, okay.
And
That
so it
was
was a-
probably not a bad
Yeah, it was a
gig.
good job, but I
Yeah.
mean, that was not what I wanted to do. That's not what
But you had already, so you started comedy technically like at 21, or it's the first time
I
you did
did it at 21, and it went pretty well, but then I started kind of bombing a lot, and I was like, I just wasn't.
Started bombing.
Yeah, my very first time I did comedy was good.
Really?
But then I couldn't, every joke I seemed to write after that was just kind of bombing. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I quit. And then I started back about 25 or 26.
Is that uncommon to do well the first time you try it?
I don't know. I mean, I see a lot of people bomb the first time they do comedy.
Sure.
But I don't think I saw Aaron Weber. He's a friend of mine. I don't think I saw him the first time I doing comedy, but it was early on. And I was like, oh, this guy's great.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So once in a while you see someone, you're like, oh, they get it.
How long do you think it took you? Like, I guess what was that process when you really started bombing? And did you just dig deeper? You quit for a little bit?
Yeah, I quit for a little bit. I think I lived a little life. And when I was doing it the first time, I was just drinking all the time while I was doing it. Like I would to battle the nerves.
Sure.
I would drink, and then I would drink too much. Sometimes it would go great. Sometimes I'd bomb, depending on how the buzz was hitting me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you get that right buzz where you're like everything you say is funny and you're just hitting.
Yeah.
And then other times it's like you're just rambling on. And
let me ask you this: because I've had my booze moments of dealing with nerves, but I would never get like hammered or anything. But you catch a little buzz,
yeah.
And it would be, I started having these, like 5 songs in, they're not like a full panic attack, but you just don't feel in control.
Oh yeah,
and it's a little bit of like, oh no, and it probably would last like 3 or 4 songs, and I'd have to just I'd probably do another shot or something, and then it would be a little bit better. But I would have that little like 4 songs in moment where I would panic.
Oh yeah.
And then when I would like doing it like sober, getting up there is a little bit more difficult. You have a little bit more nerves, but then I don't have that like 4 or 5 song in panic attack. It's like I get halfway through the first song and I'm good, and then I'm actually like novel concept. I'm better, because I'm not inebriated. But is it the same?
I don't think I ever really had that kind of like anxiety thing, but I just would like know that it wasn't going well, right? So
but that didn't create like you didn't start freaking out.
Well, I guess maybe I was, and maybe that's why I quit in the end. But it's so long ago when that was happening that I don't know. But I'm like, I just had to like, once I quit drinking, like when I went back at 25, I was doing comedy sober. I was still drinking, but I would do comedy and then drink after.
Oh, okay.
And then as I went along, I started getting better at comedy, and then I would start to drink earlier. Mm-hmm. And then in 2012, I quit drinking, and that's when like my comedy just got just amazingly better right away.
Really?
I just was like now very clear in my mind and comfortable with who I was, and wasn't, I think drinking was like, making up for confidence stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I gained the confidence when I quit drinking, because I like took control of my life.
Yeah.
Because I quit drinking, I quit a job I hated. I made all these major changes at one time, and I just took control of my life. And I was like, wow, this feels good to be in control.
Did it make your writing better?
Yeah. I mean, and even now it's like, I don't even really write that much. I mean, I just come up with something. I go, oh, I'd like to talk about that. And then I talk about it on stage, and it may be good, it may not, but I just keep doing it until it becomes something.
That's the thing that does seem to be quite a bit different with the comedy world as opposed to writing songs, is y'all's is so heavily tied to people's reaction.
Oh yeah.
And like building out your whole bit. Also, if I use words and stuff that don't make any sense in the comedy world, I apologize. I don't really know that much about it.
No, I mean, that makes sense, though, because it's like, if it doesn't matter how good I think the joke is, if no one's laughing at it,
right,
it's not good.
Right. But there are a tremendous amount of similarities in terms of performance with songwriting and in comedy. That it's kind of odd that I don't hear comedians make the association as much, because it's very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm right up in it, because I live in Nashville, so I do a lot of stuff. Like I do the Opry a bunch, and so I do a lot of shows with musicians.
Yeah.
So I think it's very much the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the writing process is a bit different, but even then, I mean, I think in Nashville they're doing these writers rounds all the time where, it's basically an open mic for musicians.
Totally.
And I mean, I think it's so much the same.
The part that I envy about the comedy world is the phase of getting something going and getting a little bit of notoriety. Our deal is heavily influenced by perception of like how much other people like you. And it would still exist in comedy, but there's a lot of people, especially like in the Nashville world, it's a lot of it's a facade, and you're trying to act bigger and like you got more going on than you really do. And I envy comedy in the sense that there's a lot of guys that lean into the fact that I'm just a dirtbag. I ain't got nothing going on.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And it is endearing and sometimes like makes them funnier, but like, I guess it depends on what like you're going for in the music thing, but you have to like it's like a lot of people are always having to put on this like show a little bit, and everybody's like stroking their ego, and it takes on a little bit of a. that I'm not super into.
Yeah, I mean, that was my favorite thing to do, was to show myself doing bad gigs, showing myself staying at a bad hotel.
Yeah.
But then you start getting agents and managers, and it's like, if you're now posting you doing a bad gig and posting you at a bad hotel, then now it's like there's other people involved to where it's like you're kind of making them look bad to where other people are like, oh, you're with this person and you got this bad gig. So, and I don't really have bad gigs now. I kind of wish I did, just for that, because I like that. I like
For real?
I don't want all my gigs to be bad. But I like to do some weird bad gigs once in a while.
Sure.
You know, just hole in the wall places where, you know, people are listening, but it's not like, you know, top of the, you know, now I'm doing the best clubs and I'm doing theaters and I'm doing, you know, I just did a couple of shows at the Ryman. I did a Kid Rock's comedy jam at the Ryman, and it's like, you know, working with, you know, big time comics, and it's like, all that's great. I mean, and that's what you want. Totally. But it's like, it's fun to do some crappy room where I feel like I write my best jokes when I feel like the audience is not really into what I'm doing. Because then I'm like, all right, if you're not into my best jokes, then I'm just going to give you some new stuff and I'm just going to riff a bit. Yeah. Because what does it matter?
And so do you typically find new, probably better stuff through that process?
Yeah, I mean, early on, I mean, I was writing so much stuff because I was doing so many bad gigs that he'd go up there and I'd do these jokes that were working great. And, you know, you go to a big city, like even some cities that, you know, I feel like are not great cities anymore, are great comedy cities. Like the audiences are really, like, I don't want to.
Portland.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I don't want to, that's funny you said that, because that was what I was going to say. It is. I was there in 2017 and I had a really great time in the city. And I was there recently and I was like a little sketched out by the city. Yeah. But the audiences are amazing.
Well, it's probably something to be said just when there's that level of just lostness and darkness in an area, like in the same way, like a lot of comedians have a little bit of that inside themselves. And like if the audience has some of that, then there's probably...
Yeah, I mean, there was something, because it was like, man, like all the streets were all graffitied up and there were tents everywhere, but most of the shows were sold out, and I mean, it was hot shows.
Well, I'm not saying anything that you don't already know, but we're just in a world now where there's a lot of people that don't want to hear anything that conflicts with their ideology or worldview, and then there's a whole other part of people that like that's all they want to hear because it's a knee-jerk reaction to the other side, and they're like, no, anything goes. So like for comedians, I feel like it's a really great opportunity to blow the doors wide open with some stuff.
Well, I like, my comedy is all about not touching any of that stuff.
Sure.
And I feel like people love it because it's like, it's a great escape. Because all our movies have some kind of agenda in them now. So much music does. I mean, everything, and so much comedy does. So when you can go see a show where you're like, oh, this is like just an escape. Yeah. I think people love it.
That's why I was drawn to you initially.
Yeah.
And that was, that was probably 3 years ago, I think. Because I saw you here.
Yeah, you came here at the COVID show.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, I didn't talk about this much for a while, but it's like when I did this club in Dallas in 2020, in May of 2020, the club says they were the only club open in the world at that time. Are you
serious?
And I figured the country, because I knew people weren't doing comedy. So I feel like I was like the only headliner in the country in a comedy club on that week.
And it was sold out.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty low capacity, but it was sold out, yeah.
Yeah, and you crushed, dude.
It was so fun. Well, because everybody was so excited. At that point, we had all been in our houses, or at least not allowed to do anything for 2 months.
Dude, it was so great, man.
It was a blast.
My wife, she's not like super into comedy. She's not into comedy, but like she doesn't really, and I don't know a lot about it, but really any other comedian I've ever gone and seen was like a Ron White or something. That. And like, you'd sort of know what you're getting into. You followed him for a little bit. And I've been to comedy clubs, but it felt way more like, a piano bar type vibe where they're just, you don't know who it is. And they're really funny, but you don't know anything about them. And so you were actually the first one that it was more, like in my world, like where I'm playing, rooms that have 200 or 300 people. right? And so somebody listens to my music and comes into that environment to hear me play my songs. That's different than somebody listening to Wallen or something and going to one of his shows. It's just a different environment, a different vibe. And it was just really cool because I think I had messaged you or something. I was like, dude, I'm just a big fan. Like, you're really funny. And I said I was coming to the show or something. And it was like cool to sort of, in some ways, get to know you a little bit and then go see, because there is a little apprehension, probably in the same way of somebody coming to see me play, where it's like, oh, there's probably a reason he's not huge yet. Like, you're kind of expecting for it maybe to not be great. Right. And, or you just don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And then, and then I go watch it. And it's just like, this dude has been doing this for a long time and he's so polished and he's just crushing.
Well, thank you. The thing for me is I started comedy in Charleston, South Carolina, and there was no comedy club. So from 2008 to 2014, I was living there, working my comedy, and there was no club. So I never did a comedy club. So for 6 years, I'm working this. This was, after I started back at 25, but I'm working this. And then I get into so it's like I got 6 years before anybody in the comedy world even saw me.
Right.
So I got to work out all the bad stuff. So by the time you're seeing me in 2020, I mean, I've been doing comedy for 12 years.
What a freaking grind, though, dude.
Yeah, totally. That was a great show because actually the guy featuring for me, Alec Parent, he still features for me a bunch. He features for all kinds of...
That's what I saw him that night, too.
Big-time comics. And then the host, Ralph Barbosa, is from Dallas, and he is completely blown up. He is selling out. He's on the Tonight Show. He's selling out clubs all over the country. And so that was a hot show.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It was so good. And in that, dude, that was like right at the beginning of it really festering for you. Because I found you through social media.
Oh, yeah.
And then, since then.
I got on TikTok during COVID. That was the best thing that happened to me was because I thought TikTok was stupid.
Well,
I mean, I guess it is, but
it's not all, but it's free and you get to put your stuff out there.
But I just Alec Parent actually started. He told me to. He was like, you should put some videos on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I put 3 videos up, and one of them really took off, and I was like, oh, this is great. So I just started working it.
And so then that's when it really. Did you already know Nate in them before then?
I knew Nate a little bit. Aaron and Brian, the other people on Nateland, I've been knowing for a while. They've done a lot of road gigs with me.
Okay.
But I knew Nate a little bit.
I find it interesting that you guys are all of like similar values and sort of similar backgrounds in some ways. It's just a little bit rare for sure in the comedy world. It's rare in my world, and it seems more rare in your world.
Yeah.
And I was curious how you guys just like found people that were like-minded and kind of had similar lifestyle. Like, that's got to be tough to find.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville, weird. I mean, like, it is true. So many comedy scenes, it doesn't exist almost at all. People have emailed me about, like, they're like, hey, I'm a clean comic, and I'm, like, the only clean comic in my whole city. But in Nashville, we have this weird, clean comedy, I don't know what you call it, group of people. Like, you got Henry Cho lives in Nashville, who's clean comic, John Christ, Nate, Aaron, Brian.
Yeah.
And then there's other guys. Johnny W. is a guy, he does churches. Rick Roberts does a lot of corporate gigs, but all just clean comics.
But it doesn't even like really strike me as necessarily clean comedy. It's like, you guys are still like cool and fun. It's not like you're a freaking some oddball that can like only play in a church.
Well, that's the thing, right? And that's what I always tell people. I say my comedy, it's relatively clean, and I say that if I don't tell you it's clean, you're not going to know it's clean.
Yeah, but you're going to still bring up stuff about like whatever,
right? I talk about drinking and driving and smoking weed and all those sorts of things.
It's just real, but you don't. And again, like I'm no voice on comedy. I just have my little opinions. But like the clean comedy, it just seems like at times we went through this phase of the shock factor of saying something that's outrageous.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh. And like just dropping an F-bomb or something. And it's like, and now like I just enjoy seeing somebody that, to be honest, it feels a little bit like low-hanging fruit. In the same way as right now with music, like put an F word in there and put explicit content on it, and then it's gonna be like, oh yeah, that's edgy. And I'm like, no, dude, you just like, it's just low hanging fruit.
Well, that's what I always think with music is I'm like, there's so many good songs where they'll just throw the F word in there like for no reason. I'm like, you kind of ruin the song.
I
like,
think so.
Like I'm like, you know, it's like I had an art teacher that used to tell me that if you're people that cuss a lot, it's because they have a lack of vocabulary.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what my mom said.
Yeah, yeah.
Was my mom wait, hold on.
I don't think so. Mr. Conway was.
I don't know if we want to go down that road.
but the I didn't start out to be clean. It was just kind of like how I am. You know, I still cuss in my daily life, but I try to not do it a lot.
Sure.
You know, but
yeah, you try to not do it a lot. Yeah.
But with comedy, it's like it just does separate you in a way. If you're like not doing that, I say to people, you know, I have like older parents, you know, will come up to me and they'll say, thanks for having the kind of show that I can bring my kids to.
Yeah.
Their kids will be like in their 20s. And then like 20-year-old people can bring their parents to my show.
Absolutely.
It's like, I've had comics that I like and I want to show it to my parents or somebody. And I'm like, and then I'm listening to it and I'm just like so embarrassed by what they're saying that it's like, people tell me all the time, they're like, thanks for having the kind of comedy that I can share with my family. People will say, my dad loves comedy, but everybody's dirty now, and me and him have really been able to bond. Because I think, you know, I don't want to say my comedy's cool, but I think it's cool enough that
dude, it's hip.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's out of style or something or hokey at all.
And that's the great thing about comedy. As long as you stay relevant, you never get too old for comedy. Once you start losing touch with what society's doing, then you get old quick.
My thing with just even hearing you talk about this, I think my main thing with the whatever you want to call it, dirty comedy or something, it feels inauthentic to me. And here's why: is like if I were to take like the dirtiest comic ever, maybe not ever, but somebody that I might, based on their comedy, I might feel uncomfortable inviting them over to have dinner with my family or my grandma or something, right?
Yeah.
Take that guy, invite him over for dinner with my grandma and my parents, and he's probably not going to act like how he acts on stage. And he's probably still could be funny.
Right.
And that to me is like where it feels inauthentic. It's like you would be different, but like you, I don't think you would necessarily be around certain people and then you would start just like being totally different. It's where it's like you're making an effort to just, I guess it's the effort of being funny, and you're trying to use these tactics that you know are going to get shock factor to be funny.
Right.
And it feels inauthentic to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now on the other hand, there is like New York comedy where people are really dirty and it feels like that I'm like, oh, this is who you are all the time.
Right. That's why I said maybe not the dirtiest.
Yes.
Because there probably would be some people that I invite them over and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right. Like I just did some shows with like, Robert Kelly and Big J. Okerson. And it's like, these are New York guys. And I'm like, I bet they are almost exactly like this all the time.
Sure.
At family dinners.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? But it's like there is I feel like a Southern thing where it's like, I don't know. I won't cuss around my parents. I don't around the older people. I have a hard time, like, I'm all about being respectful to older people.
Totally.
To where I feel like, I'm almost like, even like in the same business as me, I get like, I find myself falling into like, I'm the kid, they're the adult relationship, and I'm 40 years old. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I wonder if that is like a Southern thing.
Yeah.
It probably
I think
is.
so.
Yeah.
But like I have a friend, she's from upstate New York, and I went to a lunch with her with some other people, and they were just like a nice couple of people. And my friend, she was just dropping F-bombs the whole time, and she had no idea she was doing it. Right. She's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing.
It's almost like somebody saying like all the time, where you're like, maybe just clean that up. Like it's just annoying if every passing word is just like and like.
Yes.
If you just put an F, there's people that talk like that. It's just like, that's kind of a boring word when you're using it so much.
It is true. And there's a lot of those. I have a thing where I say, you know what I mean, a lot in my comedy. But
you leaned into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I make fun of myself about it, but I just say it. I try to not say it as much, but it just comes out.
So that's something you had to
Yeah, I like it though at some instances. Like, you tell the joke, say, you know what I mean? And it's like, you're not really asking the question.
Right. But I like that you just found the thing that annoyed you about yourself and then just like lean into it a little.
Yeah.
Or just use it precisely.
Yeah. I mean, like even like just moving around, I can't sit still. I'm always adjusting and my hands are always going and touching my glasses and my hat and my belt. And I'm like,
But look, it's a prime example of somebody being a little bit, just like having some uniqueness about themselves. And then you're able to lean into it and people love it. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, because I thought if I clean all that up, well, then what am I doing? I'm just standing there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just be standing there.
I don't want you to either.
I got to move around a little bit.
Yeah. For sure, man. Well, speaking of moving around, we got to cut this short so that you can go outside and move around.
Well, I'm going to try to get some sun. I try to go for a walk today.
But you're not doing the you're keeping clothes on.
Yeah, I'll keep, I always say when I'm in Florida and I walk down the street, I take my shirt off. Sure. And I do that. People think I'm joking about it, but I'm in Florida and I got to take a walk. I take the shirt off. I feel like it's total Florida etiquette. And, you got
to loop it in your belt.
Yeah, because you need it when you go into the store.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
Maybe, depending on the store.
They just need to know that you have it.
Yes.
They're not going to make you put it on, always.
You don't want to look homeless. Like, you do own a shirt.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, but you don't have to wear it.
Yeah.
No shoes. That's a perfect place for grounding.
Yeah.
Earthing.
Earthing, yeah. I mean, it is great.
They get real earthy.
All the lizards. I mean, I found the farther south you get in Florida, the bigger the lizards get.
Oh, but we're not in like a David Icke lizard people thing, are we?
Well, I've been down that too. Yeah, I mean, I know David Icke very well.
And there's probably there's some David Icke people down there.
Yeah. Well, there's a movie with Roddy Piper called They Live. Have you ever seen that? It's great. It's a fun. I don't even want to ruin it for you, but it's a fun.
Can you halfway ruin it for me?
All right. Well, so Roddy Piper, he finds these sunglasses, right? And if you've watched any conspiracy video, you've probably seen the picture. But he finds these sunglasses, and then when he wears the sunglasses, he can now see through everything.
Okay.
So it'd be like an advertisement for something, but he puts the glasses on, and it just says "consume." And then
and
then he's looked at the money and the money said, I am your God. And but there are also these alien people amongst us.
Is it a comedy?
It's kind of funny.
But it's not supposed to.
I don't think it's a comedy. But then he wears them and he can see, because like the alien people look like us until you wear the glasses. And then you can see that they're aliens. And there's one scene where they realize what's going on, the alien people, and they say into their little watch, she goes, "We've got one that can see," and then it becomes it's great. I mean,
what's the name of it?
They Live.
They Live.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a bad movie, but a pretty fun watch.
Yeah. Well, I'm all in. Dude.
Yeah. I forget the director, James Carpenter, maybe.
But you left me a little bit of meat on that bone, right?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the movie. I mean, there's a lot. Even I watched it a second time and I was shocked by some stuff that happened.
Okay.
But there's a nice fight scene in there where he's trying to get his friend to put on the glasses and his friend won't do it. So they end up in this long fight and the fight drags out so long that you're thinking, you could edit this down a little bit. And in the end, his friend puts on the glasses. And a lot of people say that's what it's like if you're trying to wake people up to something, is that first there's a denial and then there's an argument and then you get into this long fight. And in the end, if they put the glasses on, they go, now I see what you're talking about.
But it's a journey.
Yes. It's a journey. Yes.
This movie feels like it's probably 4 hours.
I don't know how long. It's not that long. It's a good movie though. Roddy Piper is great. He has one terrible line that kind of got used a bunch, and I don't know the line. I don't want to butcher it, but it's he says something like, "I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum."
But he's being serious.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds great.
Yeah, it is great. It is great.
Well, I'm going to send you a full review.
Okay. Please do.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. I think everyone should. Anybody listening to this should watch the movie and send us a full review. We'll do
To you.
do a YouTube video. I'll put a compilation together of all the reviews of They Live. I can't guarantee.
Actually, that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I can't guarantee people will watch it, but
I'll watch it. I'll be there.
I've done some videos that I've worked very hard on that
just
have gotten
flop.
very low views, and then I'll do another one that I'm like, I don't even know why I'm posting this, and it's viral, you know?
Dude, I have like this feeling that it is the amount of effort you put into the video on the platform. So like how much time you spend editing the TikTok video on TikTok
Okay.
judges a little bit of how well it does.
Okay.
Because like they're wanting to get attention from the consumer just as much as the person creating the content.
Yes. Okay.
You know,
So you're saying if you edit it using TikTok, it'll go further.
that's my one little theory.
That makes sense. Use our tools and we'll push it. Don't be editing on your own.
Because they just want your attention. Just come here, you know. But I put on the glasses. I said, I know what you're up to, TikTok.
Yeah. Well, if we had those glasses and could look at our cell phones, I would be afraid to what it said.
Terrifying. Isn't it
Yes.
crazy that the one thing that has created it's spread the most evil in some ways is the very thing that could be used to spread like some of the most good, and
Yeah.
that's like, what a dichotomy.
I mean, it's like, Lord of the Rings, the ring, you can turn invisible and it's got a lot of power, but sucks you in.
Yeah, that's true. I guess Lord of the Rings was on it pretty early.
Yeah. Really sucks you in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that even the Apple logo, with the bitten.
Forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's pretty blatant.
And there also is a thing that if you hold two of the Apple logos up side by side, it looks like a gray alien head.
Like if you put the bite part up.
Yeah, I'll have to show you. It's pretty wild.
I
don't
bet.
know if it means anything.
Well, you've seen the monster thing, right?
Monster Energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
The 666 thing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That one's pretty blatant too.
Yeah. I don't mess with it. Yeah, Red Bull, just an old classic.
This isn't Red Bull. It's just a Red Bull can.
Okay.
I put something else in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't like Red Bull, but they are a sponsor, so I have.
Okay. Okay. Well,
That also,
hopefully they don't hear what you've just said.
yeah, well, I really gave it away.
Yeah.
It was untrue as well, but
Yeah, Red Bull's just an old classic, two bulls fighting while the sun's going down.
two bulls fighting, grounding each other.
Yes.
Just getting earthy together.
Yes, protecting their territory, like the bulls do.
All right, dude. Well, let's go get in the sun.
All right, let's do it.
I'm taking my pants off though.
All right.
I'm doing the
Yeah. That's any way you can make skin to ground contact.
All right. I'm doing that. And then we're going to your show tonight.
All right. Yeah, it's going to be great.
And then you're touring a bunch. So just go to your website.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. I don't know when this comes out. May 13th, I'll be recording a full hour special in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Hell yeah, dude.
The Bijou Theater.
May what?
May 13th.
Bro.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Are you doing that like in-house, setting it up in-house? I guess I don't know how the production of those things work.
I've hired my own people to do it.
Yeah.
So, and then possibly we'll try to get sold to some platform, but I like the idea of just putting it on YouTube myself.
Love it.
That's what I like. And then I own everything. I have complete control. That's what I'm all about.
Indie
Yeah.
artists. All the way. Hell yeah, dude. Well, thank you for doing this. We're going to the show tonight.
I'm pumped.
We're going to crush.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
See y'all.
Whip away.